you got to be very careful. One of the biggest chatoim out there, which is Chil Hashem, because people are going to learn from you. Okay, so where are we up to now? Oh, on the bottom of Samach Hayim Beis. If there's not enough sad news going around, tonight is one of the more sad Gemaras in Shas. Right? But we'll get to that. So we're on the bottom. Again, we're dealing with the sugi of Eid Echad. As an Eid Echad, believe, not believe. So where do we leave off? Amar Abaya. About 2, 4, 6, 9 lines up from the bottom. We good? Am I muted now?
No, we can hear you.
No, you're good. Yaakov, you're good.
Okay, good. Sorry. Amar Abaya. So he says 9 lines up from the bottom. So Amar Abaya. Abaya is going to bring three examples here of where we would believe in Eid Echad. So Amar Abaya, again, Samach Hayom Beis, bottom 9 lines up. So Amar Abaya. Amar Loi Eid Echad. Eid Echad tells him, Achalta Chelev. You ate Chelev. Meaning, what's it his business? Chelev it looks like fats, right? So it's fats that are also to be eaten. So you have to bring a carbon. If you ate chelev by mistake, you have to bring a carbon. So a guy comes over to him and says, you ate chelev. Halosh shaisik. The guy who he told us to was quiet. So then we say, Neman, he's believed, right? Because we get into this concept of what's called shtika kahaydah. Right? So meaning normally we don't believe in Eid Echad. That's what we've been saying. Even though by Yisur we say this doesn't really pertain to him necessarily. But anyways, so if the guy is quiet, so he says, then he realizes, the reason why he's quiet must be because he realized he made that mistake. So therefore he's believed. The Tana Tuna, we have a Tana that proves this. Amar Allah, Eid Echad achalta chelev, and Eid Echad tells him you ate chelev. Allah Amar lo yachalti. The guy says, I did not. So then Potter, he's Potter. Right? Because again, in Eid Echad, we don't believe in Eid Echad. But that's only if the guy denied it. The reason is because the reason why the Eid Echad is not believed is because the guy said it's not true. Ishtik, but it's mashma that had he been quiet, Muhammad, he'd be believed. Case number 1. Case number 2. Right, if a guy, your taras, the stuff that you had that was to keep it pure, Allah shaisik, and the other guy's quiet, Neman, he is believed. Right? Again, all he told him was that his food became tameh, and he's quiet. He says, yeah, okay, then he's believed. The Tana Tuna, Eid Echad Aimer Nitmu, 1 says your stuff is tameh, V'Allah Aimer Lo Nitmu, and the guy says it's not tameh. Potter, he's Potter. Again, because the Eid Echad is not believed if there's a denial. Right? Time Adamar Loy. That's only because he said no. Ishtik, Muhammad, had he been quiet, then the fellow would be believed, and all his stuff that he thought was Torah would be tameh. That's case number 2. Case number 3. Amar Abaya, Amar Loy Eid Echad. On to today's daf now. Sharcha Nirva. He says your shar was slept with, which now makes it possible for a carbon. Slept with how he's human. And the guy's quiet. Neman is believed. The Tana Tuna. If Avera was done with the animal, or that animal killed a person if with one aid watching it. Right? Neman, he's believed. Or what does it mean? Hi, what's the case? Either kamayde bailim. If the bailim are mayde.
John, can I ask a Rabaran question?
Go ahead.
What's the guy supposed to say when somebody says your animal was was Nirva. I watch my animal 24 hours a day.
No, he's
How do
gonna
I
say
know
you're
when? It's
you're
not like that.
crazy. You're crazy. Go away.
It's worse. A
No,
shore,
but I'm saying like
shore is a
we had
zach.
this before already.
A shore is a zacher. Even worse. It says your bull was Nerva. I don't understand. We got like an Evan over there. This is Shalom Kadarko on his shore. He's kind of weird. Really weird. Really weird.
Okay. Rachman, you're doing advanced animal anatomy.
Thank you for the upstate version of this. No, but what are you supposed to answer?
Oh,
I mean,
so
like,
that's gonna come up.
guy tells me my animal, yeah, okay, it's not like I keep an eye on them.
Right. So that yeah, it's a good point, Parrot. Right? You hear Parrot is saying sometimes a shtika can sometimes the guy could be expected to know, and sometimes how's he supposed to know? Right? You go over to the guy and say, a teacher tells the kid, calls you up and says your kid made trouble in school. Right? You say, well, how am I supposed to know if my kid made trouble in school? And what am I supposed to answer
But if
to
you
that?
say, "How am I supposed to know?" That's not shtika.
Is it? Is it not shtika?
Shtika is not. Doesn't shtika mean not saying anything, being quiet?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the yes. You're right. That's the translation.
So
But
once you open up your mouth and you start saying, "Well, I don't know if it's true. I'm not so sure. I don't know." That's not shtika anymore.
It's not. I'm saying, is shtika a lack of denial, or is the shtika literally quiet?
You tell me.
I don't know. Well, I think that a shtika is a lack of a denial, not necessarily you have to be quiet.
We had this somewhere before. I don't know where we had this before. It's something about
first
being
Gemara,
shtika.
the first piece of Gemara in this Mishnah.
No, we had it before. Like I'm talking about months ago, and I think Rabbaran also had the same argument.
We had it in the Darim.
Maybe that's what it was in the Darim. Could be.
Meaning, right.
And Subis and Saita.
No, if he's back, does you examine, see if there's any signs of I don't know, trauma, let's call it that. Right? Or check video cameras. That shows he's not accepting. You see, part of what we're going to get into now is by the fellow being quiet. Is he being quiet because, like Parrot says, he just doesn't know? Or is he being quiet because he doesn't know, but he trusts this guy? Right? He says, oh, if you're saying that this happened, I trust you 100%. Right? In which case, that means it's sort of like we said yesterday, that if somebody decides that their stuff is usher, like, so they can somebody can make something usher onto themselves, even though halachically it's not usher. Right? So the same thing here. If you accept this guy's testimony because you really trust him, so then it could be that it's usher, whether you know about what happened or not. Right? Okay. Well,
Can I ask a more fundamental question here?
Go ahead.
Isn't Abaya destroying the whole concept of Eidach Nema Bisurin?
What do you mean?
He's given
three
members, all of which are Isser, and he said that if the guy's not Shaisik, if the guy makes him a Chah, the Eidach is not believed. So when exactly is an Eidach believed?
It seems like Abai is using some sort of combination.
Yeah, but this past line of Gemara asked the question, but didn't ask on Eidacha. The Gemara asked on the Brisa. When would the Brisa be correct? If the guy was Shaisik, but then you have Eidas Baldin. So you have that with every one of these things.
Yeah. This is part of this whole sugya. Aaron, I told you last night Gershon wasn't on in the beginning.
I was just going to say, Gershon, don't you have Shema Brachas or something to be had?
It's over.
There you go. They don't have steak at the Yom Sheva Brachas?
Nope, it was well after Tzeis. It was a mistake in the Ksuba.
Anyways, it's a good question. This is part of the whole lumdus of this That's why these are shas sugyas. Anyway, so there's three examples here. The first example of Abai is saying the same thing in three cases. One is chaylev, second one is tumah and tara, the third one is the animal becoming puzzled for carbon. Okay, why does he need to say three cases? 5 lines down. For tzricha, and you need all three cases. If you say the first case about chaylev, ilav the kimle benafshe da'avad, if the person didn't realize by himself that he taka did that and he ate chaylev, chulin bazar lo havi ma'aseh, he would never bring chulin bazar, because what does the guy have to do? He has to bring a carbon because he was a shoygig. It's a chi of karas to eat chaylev, right? So a chi of karas, you bring a carbon chatas if you did it b'shoygig. So if this guy thinks that he didn't eat the chaylev, he's going to deny it, because if he's bringing a carbon into the Beis Hamikdash shaloi kedin, he's being over on an issa. So it must be that by him being quiet, he's taka being quiet because he knows that he did something wrong, and that he's going to have to bring a carbon. Right? But in the second case, where the guy just told him your stuff became tamei, whoop-de-da, maybe we could say that the reason why he's being quiet is the sabachah. I said, good, so I'll eat them when I'm in my tummy, guys. I'll put the food in the freezer, and when I'm tummy, I'll eat them. Right? Like, what's the big deal? So I'll be quiet. Why I got to fight with this guy? What I got to fight with this guy for? Right? Meaning, in the first case, if it wasn't true, he would fight with the guy, because otherwise he's going to be bringing a carbon for no good reason, which is chulin bringing bone to the azara. But the second case, maybe the reason why he's being quiet is he says, well, okay, no, so what's the big deal? I don't have to fight him. Let's say my stuff is tummy. No, so I'll eat it when I'm tummy.
Is this second case talking about a kohen or a chaver?
I thought anybody.
What's the isser? There's nothing wrong.
There's no issue. Good, but exactly. That's exactly the Gemara's point. That's exactly the Gemara's point.
Why does the Gemara have to say that it'll eat it b'mei tumasa? Eat it b'mei tara.
That's why he's just being quiet, because blowing the guy off. He says, good, just let him be right.
Well, what is he neman for? He's neman. I mean, what?
It's just a matter
of
whether his stuff is
tummy.
Well, the nafkamina is whether his stuff is tummy. That's all. He's being a good Samaritan. He's helping the guy out, He's like the guy that comes over and says your tefillin is not straight. No, shine. It's still kosher? Yeah. He's the guy still telling you. Okay. You just say, you give him a shake of the head and move on. Right? You're not going to fight with him and say, no, my tefillin is proper. Right? V'yashminan, so that's the second case. V'yashminan ha, mishum dekamafta lebi mei tarasa. That's because he's going to lose it during the days of his tara, meaning when he's tar, he can't eat this stuff. Aval shoyre nirva, but if his shor was what do you call it? Slept with, meimar omar, kol hashvarim lav l'gavi mizbeach time. Good, this animal. Listen, guys telling him my animal is now puzzled for a carbon. Okay, so I'll bring a different animal for the carbon, meaning it's not that big a deal. So maybe when he's being quiet, it's just he's being quiet because it's not a big deal. So tzricha, therefore Abaye said no. In all these cases, we do believe it, and it's no good. Whatever, we accept the testimony. Fine. So then we go on to the next shaila. Iboilahu. If the wife is mezana be'ed echad, the shoysek, and then the husband is quiet, then what's the din? Right? Again, the guy comes over and says, your wife was mezana, and he's quiet. So now, are we now by him being quiet, does that make him have to get divorced? Some Rabbi Nema, Abaye says he's believed, just like Abaye said in the previous three cases. When a guy says something and the person he said it about is quiet, right? So nothing different about this case. Rava disagrees. He says, "Ain't no neman." Why? Habi davar sheba erva, like we said yesterday. This is something called davar sheba erva. This is talking about things having to do with harayas. Vein davar sheba erva pachas mishnayim. We know the din is davar sheba erva is you need at least 2 aiden.
According to Abaye, what happened to the chazaka?
Chazaka is broken. He holds that 1 aid together with the shtika is considered a legitimate testimony.
How is 1 aid Eidechel Bisun is vehetzer. How does it break the chazaka of marriage here?
Because you have a testimony with a shtika.
But
And
it's not a
Abaye
real
holds that-
testimony. It's two items of testimony.
But he holds the lack of denial the husband together with the Eid Echad makes it strong enough. Right?
It breaks the chazaka. Oh, okay.
Oh, so a second. So now Toysis, I don't know if what you're asking is what Toysis is asking, but Toysis Amar Abaya, he, which is not argues is a little different. Toysis asks if you're Makadosh, we just got finished saying yesterday or 2 days ago that if you do a Kiddushin with one aid, the Kiddushin is no good because ain't davar she'er pachas mishnayim. So then how come here you're believing this nus? Right? So the first Toysis says that maybe it's the difference between a bia and a Kiddushin, but then the bottom of the Toysis, he says by the marriage, it's talking about where he was not quiet. The last line in that Toysis. Somebody's quiet together with the echad, then we don't say full of ein davar era pachas mishnayim. Meaning it's strong enough. A lack of denial together with an eid echad is strong enough. That's the way Toysis says it. Right? And then Toysis brings on Rava. He has the kasha too. The next Toysis. If you're saying shtikas kahayda, then why is she not usher? The guy was quiet. Right? A man can make himself a chatich d'isura. Meaning, if the guy is quiet, so good. Whether this actually makes him usher or not, there's only one aid at the shaila. But by him being quiet, that means he says, you know what? I don't want this. And he can make it usher onto him. He's within his rights, right? If this guy voluntarily says, you know what, this eid echad, that makes me too nervous. I'm not going back to my wife. Right? It makes me way too nervous. Yeah. So therefore, it's a problem.
He had a big fight with his wife. He wants to get out of the ksuba, so he just keeps quiet, and that's it. He's
a from guy. Imagine a guy comes over to you and goes into bed and says, I saw this guy's wife being Lazana.
I could be quiet because I wouldn't know what to say to you.
Okay. So if you being a fruma guy, you would say, 1 second. I might be also midaraisa to continue living with my wife. I don't want to live with my wife anymore. You would be entitled. Right? You'd be entitled.
I'm asking, how does that break the chazaka?
Doesn't, but you can. Tosh is asking on Rava that for Rava you can make himself chaticha d'isura.
Only by
Right?
Yitzhak.
No, he's saying it even by Erva. Anyways, let's see how this goes. So that's a machlokes. Ma'aseh a machlokes and by a Rava, whether you're allowed to even believe this eid echad if the husband is quiet. So how do I know this? And unfortunately, this case does come up. Right, a similar case. There was a blind person, and he was misader mishnayis in front of Mar Shmuel. One day he didn't come. He was late. He didn't come. So they sent somebody to his house to see what's going on. When the shliach went one way, he took one route to check on the house. The blind man took the other street, so they missed each other. He also shliach. Then when the shliach gave up and couldn't find this blind fellow, he came back to the yeshiva and he said to him, Omar Ishtay, I happened to come to your house. You weren't home, and your wife was on it. Also made Mar Shmuel, so they to Mar Shmuel to see what's going to be. Amalei, he says, if you believe him, and he told the blind guy, if you believe him, Zil Afka, so then you have to divorce her. And if you don't believe him, Loisafik, so then you don't have to divorce her. Right? So what is this telling us? My love, Imehem Allah to love Gazlanahu. What is Abaye saying? That what did Mar Shmuel mean? He meant to tell the guy, if you trust him because he's not a Gazlan, meaning if he's a Gazlan, he's Pasaleizah. So basically what he was saying is that if you trust him, you have to get divorced. Not if you trust him, I'm sorry. if you know that he's a legitimate person, you have to get divorced because it's a legitimate edus, and you were quiet. Which Peretz, like you were saying, of course he's quiet. He's blind. Right? How's he supposed to know his wife is being mizana? Right? So that's what I'm saying. Rava saying not like that.
He saw it. He went to the house.
What?
Didn't he go to the house?
Can't hear you.
Didn't he go to the house? He saw something going
The
on.
aide-
Isn't that what happened?
The aide went to the house. I'm saying, but like Peretz was asking, how is the blind guy supposed to know? He wasn't home. Right? Unless he left the house when she was being mizana. Right? So I don't know. We'll have to see.
It all comes down to whether he believes him or not, correct?
Exactly. It all comes down to whether this guy believes it. So now this comes up, unfortunately, when a woman admits to her husband that she was mizana. So again, this is obviously a major shaila, and you can't take any lessons from it. But what some have said is, you tell the husband, just don't believe the wife. She's not Neman, right? You don't believe her, and then you go live happily ever after, or at least try to, right? Meaning it could be it's a way for her trying to get out of the marriage. We have this in Ksubas, or getting, or right? It could be she's trying to get out of the marriage, the easy way. So she says, I was Mazana. Right? Either way. Okay, so that's a biased way. But Rava again is saying that he's not believed. But Rava if you believe him like two witnesses, zil afka, then you have to get divorced. The Eloi, and if you don't, lois afka, then you don't have to. Meaning Rava is saying that it's up to you. Abaya was saying if the guy is a legitimate aid, then you're forced to trust him. Rava is saying no, if you personally trust him like two aidim, then you get divorced. But if you don't trust him, so then you don't have to get divorced. So Rava is basically telling him, just don't trust him, and then you're right, because we don't believe this is good. Again, Abay is going l'shitas that when a guy says an eid echad, he says, and if an eid echad says something, and the man is quiet, so that's considered a good eid. Fine. So, but either way, Rav is saying that you don't. Abay does not have a proof from the story from Mar Shmuel with this blind fellow. Now here's the sad story. So Abay has another proof. Amar Abay, Mina Aminallah. How do I know it? The Tanya. Ma'isa b'Yanei HaMelech. The Yanei was a kohen, and he was from the Chashmonaim. Right? Chashmonaim, according to at least for sure the Ramban, were not exactly the biggest tzaddikim in the world. We'll see from this story. Right? Meaning we're all busy Hanukkah coming up and Yom Yoma, right? Hanukkah, Chashmonaim, It wasn't so simple at all. But anyway, so Ma'isa b'Yanei HaMelech shehalach l'kuchlish midbar. He went Kuchlis that was in the midbar. The Kivish Sham, Shishim conquered 60 cities there. Obviously, he conquered 60 cities. He was very happy. And he called all the Chachamim. Our forefathers would eat meluchim, right? Which I thought that it meant like salty things, right? But Rashi says that there's some sort of vegetable. Yeah, so they ate meluchim when they came to build a Beis HaMikdash. Let's do that too as a zeichel aviseinu, right? And as like a Suda Saidah that they conquered 60 cities. The Helu meluchim al shulchanos shel zav v'achlu, and they put these things on golden tables and they ate it. Yisham echad ish let leiv ra ublial. That's a pretty low. Story sounds like under. He has a bad heart and he's a blial. Elazar ben Poiriya Shemai. That was his name. Elazar ben Poiriya Yanei HaMelech libam shel Prushim alecha. The heart of the Prushim. The Prushim were the ones that were considered, the fruma. The heart of the frum are on you, meaning they're not so happy with you. So Yanei said, what should I do? So Hakim lehem betzitz shebeinei necha. So this Elazar, this Rasha Elazar, told him, put the tzitz, right, which you're not allowed to wear normally, only the avodah, which Tosfos says that you really are allowed to, but he put it on his head, and they had to stand up because of the tzit. So there was one older person, Yehuda ben Gedida Shema. Remember Yehuda ben Gedida, Yanai HaMelech, and he told him, Yanai HaMelech, Malchus, you already have the Keser Malchus. Anoch Keser Kahuna, the Zarish Alaron. Why don't you leave the Keser Kahuna to Zarish Alaron? This is one of the issues with the Chashmonaim. They took the Kahuna and the Melucha. This is why you're doing both. Because they said that his mother was captured in Moedim, and we know from the previous Gemara that when a woman's captured, she becomes Pasul Kahuna. So Yanai was Pasul Kahuna. At least that's what this Yehuda ben Gedida thought. But they looked into it, and they didn't find that it was true at all. But what happened is he separated from the Chachmei Yisrael with anger. Meaning Yanai was so angry about this whole thing that they accused him or his mother of being puzzled, and maybe he was puzzled. Got really upset and he threw out the Chacham. Right? If this was a hedged of Klal Yisrael, meaning Stam, a regular guy, fine. But you get angry at them and you just throw them out. You're a melech and a kohen gadol. Kachu dincha. This is your din, right? Meaning you should punish him a lot more. So he said, what should I do? So this Elazar said to him, if you listen to me, you'll kill them. The Torah Matei. So Yanai says, what's going to be with the Torah if I kill all of them? So he said back to him, it's wrapped up and put in the corner, meaning anybody wants to learn Torah. There's a Sefer Torah right there, go learn Torah. Whoever wants to learn it should learn it. The Gemara digresses for a second. It says, Yanai was thinking, was put into his head, okay, that's if you want to learn Torah Shabbat, but if we kill all these Chachamim, Torah Shabbat Peh, what's going to be with Torah Shabbat Peh? Right? Meaning you're saying kill the Chachamim. So he answered him back, so Yanai answered him back, well, what's going to be with the Torah? He said, there's a Sefer Torah, somebody will come and learn it. So Yanai should have answered him, well, what's going to be with the Torah Shabbat Peh? But he didn't, right? Because he wasn't, Apikorsis went to his head. Anyways, Miyad, the Saisit, Hara, Al Yidei Elazim, and Pairia, from the word sit is a very interesting Gershon, right? It's a very interesting choice of term, right? It went out, the bad went out, right? On Elazar from Elazar ben Beria, v'haragu kol chachmei Yisrael, he killed all of these chachamim. And the whole world was empty. Tairach Shimon ben Sheter, who happened to have been Yanai's brother-in-law, Yanai's wife's brother, Rashi says, came and retaught the Torah to everybody. Okay, that's the story, right? It's a famous story. It's a pretty unfortunate story. Right, so, okay, what does this have to do with our sugya? So now, the Gemara is going to analyze how exactly did they think the mother got captured. So, hey, Chidami, if you say that two Adim said they got captured, and two people said that they didn't get captured, so then it's a what do you call it? Stalemate, 2 against 2. Why would you rely on these that she wasn't captured? Samachahani, go on those that she was captured. Meaning, why did the Chachamim decide that it was unsubstantiated that she was captured? Ella, what must it be? It must be one aid or get captured. The reason why it was unsubstantiated, one guy said she was captured, and 2 Adim said no, she was not captured. But if it wouldn't have been for that, Muhammad, we would have believed. Right? So you see from this story that an Eid Echad would be believed. But Rava, so what's Rava going to do with the story? The Olam Trey or Trey. Rava says, no, there were 2 of each. Right? And there was a stalemate. In a different case, Rav Acha ben Yumi said it's talking about Edom Zaymimin. So too here we're talking about Edom Zaymimin. Because Edom Zaymimin, is really the same version of two Eidim against two Eidim. Two saying it happened, and two saying it didn't happen, right? That's Eidim Zayman. Except Eidim Zayman has a little bit different, because Eidim Zayman is not shot that they're saying it didn't happen. They're saying the original Eidim weren't even there. So then we always believe the second Eidim. So Rava says that's what went on over here. With two Eidim, Yanai was captured. And two Eidim came along and said, "We're with us someplace else, so your testimony is out." Viva is saying, or a different shot Rava could take is Rav Yitzchak, like Rav Yitzchak, Rav Yitzchak, Shifcha, Hichnitzu Tachteh. What happened was that they put a Shifcha instead of her, meaning Yanai was taka captured. Then when they chapped, they found her, which halavai that they should find all the people that are captured now in Eretz Yisrael and Gaza. But they found her and they replaced her with a Shifcha. And the Goyim who captured her never knew that it wasn't. They thought they had Yanai's mother, and they really had somebody else. They had an impostor. Okay, so that's not a raya. Fine. So Omar Rava. Now Rava is going to try and prove his case that when a guy comes and says your wife was Mazana, even if the guy was quiet, you don't believe him. Omar Rava, I'll tell him a bit now. How do I know? It's not. Amar of Shimon. There was a story with a mikvah of Diskim. Diskim, Rashi says it was the name of the person or the name of the city, in which was in Yavne, right? So I said, it had a chazaka that the mikvah was complete, that it was good. And then somebody decided to go measure it, and they found that it was missing memsa. So now it was a puzzle mikvah. The kol tyra shenasu al gava, all the tyras that were done, that were toiveled, anything that was toiveled in this mikvah, Rav Tarfon Matai, Rav Tarfon said it's tahar. Rabbi Kiva Matam, Rabbi Kiva said it is tamei. Right? There must have been a big controversy in town, right? All of a sudden they measure the mikvah, and it's not good. Right? So now, how far back do you go to say that use this mikvah or tamei? Do we say that it happened right then and there, until before then it had a chazaka, or not? Right? It's a major issue. Right? We had this unfortunately with when the people got caught selling treif things. So then, how far back?
You can almost puzzle up a whole community from this.
Correct. That's the big shaila. How far back do you go with this whole thing? Yeah. So that's a machlokes. Rav Tarfon says everything is tar up until the point that you found it puzzle. It has a chazaka. Rabbi Kiva says it's tamei. So now they have a back and forth here of why they hold what they hold. Some Rav Tarfon mikvah zeh b'cheska shalim hu oimid. This mikvah has a chazaka that it's full. Misafik atabal l'chasrei. From a suffix, you're coming to say it was chasr, meaning right now we know it's missing. We don't know when that happened. Maybe the water just evaporated now. So altach misafik. Do not knock it down because of a suffix. Meaning it only becomes a problem from when you vade knew it was the problem. That's Rav Tarfon. That's his initial way. Amar Rabbi Kiva, Adam zeh b'cheskas tamei. What do you mean? I'll say the other way. A person, till he goes to the mikvah, has a chazaka that he's tamei. Misafik atabol l'tayra. You want to come be matar misafik? Al tetarena misafik. You cannot be matar him from a suffix, right? Because his chazaka is still that he's tamei. Fine. Then Rav Tarfon continues. Amar Rav Tarfon, mashal la'ayim b'makar v'agam yizbech. It's a mashal to somebody who's standing and he's being makar something on the mizbeach, right? The noida shu ben grusha ben chalutza, and then meaning the kohen is being makar something on the mizbeach, right? So now what's the story with all this korban? So shabdasik sheira. If you find out, then we say that it's avodas kosher. So the same thing with this mikvah. Amar Rabbi Kiva, mashal la'omer u'makar v'al mizbeach. Right? It's a mashal to somebody who was omer and makar on the mizbeach, but noida shu bal mum, and then you find it is a bal mum. Shavaydasek psula. Right? His avodah is puzzle. Right? We're going to see cited. It's an interesting thing. Another one of the confusions in Yiddishkeit. If a kohen gets caught that he's a ben berusha ben chalutza, everything he did until then is kosher. If he gets caught that he's a bal mum, then everything he did until then is puzzle. Right? Summer of Tarfon. You are comparing it to a Balmum. And I'm comparing the Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. Nira Lemi Daima. Who should we compare it to? To a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza or to a Balmum? He Daima Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. He's an Enoch Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza. Then like a Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, and then it's tar. Im Daima Malbum. But if we compare it to a kind as a Balmum, then we have to judge it like a Balmum. Then it's tummy. Right? The history of Akiva law. Then Rabbi Akiva went and said it in the other way. Mikvah psule b'yachid. A mikvah comes puzzle from a yachid, right? Because eidachonem v'isurim. Meaning, if a guy comes and says he measured the mikvah, it's no good. So what's its status? It's no good. Uba'abum psule b'yachid, and a ba'almum is also puzzle b'yachid, right? So va'al yechiyah ben grusha ben chalutza psule b'shnayim. A ben grusha ben chalutza can only become puzzle from Adam, Davar Acher, or another pshat, mikvah psule begufay. The mikvah is puzzle in itself. Balmum psule begufay, a balmum himself. Va'aychiyach ben grusha ben chalutza shepsule ben grusha ben chalutza puzzle from others. Right? So Rabbi Akiva seems to have very strong arguments why we should compare the mikvah to things that would say that it is puzzle. So Amalei Rav Tarfon Akiva, kol haparish mincha keparish min hachayim. Whoever separates from you is like separating from life, meaning Rav Tarfon is saying to Rabbi Akiva, you're 100% correct, and therefore everything that was done in that mikvah is considered tummy. Now, what does this have to do with Eid Echad? So now let's see. Hi Balmum shepsula b'yachid hechidami. This Balmum who becomes puzzle with an Eid Echad, what's the case? Either kamathishle, if the Kohen says, I'm not a Balmum, mi mehemen, are we going to believe him? Right? Ella, so it can't be. So he can't be the Kohen denied it. Ella, what must it be? The Shasik, he must have been quiet. With the Kavasei, right? And which, by the way, I looked in the article in this Gemara. I always understood this word as Uda Kavasei. Gershon, you ever hear this one? The article pronounces it Vidichvasei. Vidichvasei. I never heard anybody pronounce it that way. But okay. I imagine I trust the article. Vidichvasei, and then the same thing, Gabi Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza, the Shasik, where he was quiet. Tani, and we learned mikvah psula b'yachid. A mikvah is possible b'yachid, a balmum psula b'yachid, and a balmum is possible b'yachid. Ba'yachir ben grusha ben chalutza shepsula b'shnayim, and don't prove a ben grusha ben chalutza is possible for shnayim. Whatever it is. So what do we see? That one aid cannot make a kohen into a ben grusha ben chalutza, even if the kohen was quiet when he said, by the way, your parents were divorced and they got married. Your mother was divorced and got married to a kohen. So you see that an Eid Echad is believed through this whole. It's not so easy to see, but through this is that when somebody accuses somebody of something and he's quiet, he's not believed. Right? Abaya Omar, Abaya is going to say no. It's talking about the reason why he's not believed is because he denies it. He denies that he had a mum. Then why do we believe that Eid? The Amralei Shalach. Like Peretz really was saying, take off your clothes and show us that you're not a Balmum. This, right? There's a simple answer. The guy is saying, this kind is a Balmum. He's denying it. He says, well, take off your shirt or whatever it is, whatever mum he said, and then we'll see. Find the Katani mikvah psula begufa, and that's what we mean also. The mikvah is possible begufa, a Balmum psula begufa, and a Balmum is psula begufa. Al yichiach ben grusha ben chalutza shepsula me'acherim. And don't bring Raya from Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza to others. Right? Meaning, Ayin by a Balmum and the mikvah, it can be verified very easily. How? By measuring the mikvah. Right? Or checking the guy out. Bring him to a doctor and see if he's a Balmum. So it's very verifiable. Ben Grusha Ben Chalutza is not. So hence that's the difference. So therefore there's no Raya against Abaye. Fine. So again, we still have this machlokes Abaye and Rav, and nobody really has any proofs to their opinion. That again, the machlokes is if somebody accuses somebody else and the fellow that's accused is quiet, So then it doesn't he's Abaye holds he's believed and Rava holds he's not believed. Now the Gemara just goes through why if a kohen is a ben grusha ben chalutza and they find out about it, every avodah that he did until then is kosher. Ben grusha ben chalutza avodah ksheira minola. The ben grusha chalutza that is kosher had no. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Amar Krav, Acharab. Going to be for him and his kids after him, meaning they're going to be kohanim. Bein zera kosher or bein zera apostle. We darshan whether the zera kosher or zera apostle, meaning b'di'evid, if a kohen who didn't know he was apostle did avodah, avodah is kosher. Who the Shmuel Amar mehacha? It's a different pasuk. Baruch Hashem chaylo yipol yadav tirtzeh. Right, we just had it. Yeah, it's a bracha. He's benched, and the work of his hand will be ritzei, accepted. Afilu chulin shabai tirtzeh. Even a chol, even a ben grusha ben chalutza will be accepted. Rabbi Yana Yom Ramechu basel akayin asher yiyeh bayom mehem. You go to the kohen who will be in those days. You're saying go to a kohen who's going to be in those days. What are you going to do? Going to a kohen who's not in your days? Going in a time machine? Right? Ella that kosher ben chalol. It's talking about he was kosher in your days, and then he became a chalol. Still, the avodah is okay. So there's 3 psukim. How we know that if a kohen was pasul for at least al ben grusha ben chalutza or a chalol, and he didn't know about it, his avodah is still kosher. But what about a balmum? If a balmum does avodah, then he's pasul. It's not lenient like ben grusha ben chalutza. Right, he gave to them his brisi shalom, kishu shalom, v'loy kishu chasa, when he's whole and not when he is missing. What is so? You see that if a kohen doesn't avoid it when he's missing, it's no good. So the Gemara says v'hashalom ksiv. It says peace. It doesn't say complete. Amar Rav Nachman, vav the shalom kitiyahi. The vav of the word shalom is cut off. It's cut off. We don't start as shalom. We say it as peaceful. We see it as shalom complete. So therefore, if a kohen does avodah when he's not complete because he has a balmum, the avodah is not yotzeh. Okay, so now how do we go with the 8 Echanim? So just a little practical thing. You have this whole thing. Can you trust a restaurant without a hefsha? Either we say 8 Echanim b'Yisurin, not 8 Echanim. We say 8 Echanim b'Yisurin, so why shouldn't they be trusted? So there was the vad arba harotas. Just because this question comes up a lot, especially people making beef jerky in their houses and what do we call it? Sourdough, beef jerky, kugels, dips, right? So they believe, not believe. So the Arba Rotas, 1600 said that the hechsher. Right? The bottom line is, Chais can say that if you know the person and their erlich and you trust them, then they don't need a hechsher. Right? Which is what I tell people, that as long as you know the person and you trust them, then it's okay. All right. Everybody should have themselves a fine night.
What if the guy doesn't trust himself?
What? 8 Echanim. Well, that's what Hershel Sheffer says. 8 Echanim b'Yisurin is if he knows the Yisurim. You have to know the Yisurim.
In Israel, it's even more difficult, no? With all the different hechsherim there, the Rabbanut, the Mahadran, the Badats, the Beis Yosef.